I'm going to tell you right now, I will never allow your pit bull inside of our cargo hold. I won't do it. Hey guys, welcome to Jen's Lemonade Life, another travel tip video for you today. Today we are going to talk about traveling with these guys, the little fuzzy critters in our life, the fur babies. Aww. There are 5 basic ways that you travel with animals. So the first is cargo. And when I say cargo, I don't mean like checking your dog. You actually go to a cargo department. This may be different with each airline, but this is usually larger animals where you're not on the same plane with the animal. So that's a little bit of a differentiation. Pricing is going to be different. The rules are going to be vastly different. Next up is service animals. Those are going to go generally on the plane with you unless they're too large and they're going to be like sticking out in the aisle or something and you want to put them in the crate. Now service animals, we're talking for the blind, we're talking for your seizures, whatever trained purpose they have, they're going to fly for free. It is part of the American Disability Act that we cannot ask you, well, what do you need them for? Do you have seizures? You know, let me see your proof. Let me see your card. We can't require you to do that. Now, if it's going to be an unruly animal, that's not really a service trained animal. We know that's a pet. It doesn't have to have like the service dog uniform. That certainly doesn't hurt. But you do need to let the airline know ahead of time that, hey, I'm bringing on a service animal. And we're also required to allow you specific seats if you need them for more room, that kind of thing. The next is emotional support animals. Those are not service animals and there are very strict guidelines. That one, we will ask you for proof that they are a documented emotional support animal. Airlines are actually really cracking down on this and have restrictions about what can be considered an emotional support animal. I saw news about someone trying to bring their peacock as an emotional support animal. And I'm going to tell you, most airlines do not allow that. Most airlines are going to allow a dog, which is most common, or a cat, or possibly, I think like a mini pot-bellied pig or something is allowed. I don't even know that most of them will allow like an emotional support gerbil or something. So there are strict animals which are allowed. Miniature horses are sometimes considered emotional support animals, but I'm gonna tell you that's not coming in the cabin with you. Maybe that's one that I just haven't had to deal with and we check with our cargo, but that is, I'm sorry. The horse is not coming on the plane with you. But you do have to have a letter from your doctor, and it's very specific if you look on airlines' websites. It has to say, from a certified doctor with all of their credentials on their official letterhead, dated within the last year, that you have a certain need that is in a certain classification requiring this animal for your travel or for an activity after your travel. All of that's got to be on there. It can't just be written on a little prescription pad. It can't just be a little note printed out at the doctor's office that says, hey, Shirley could really use a dog because it makes her feel better. Thanks. It's got to be very specific, so don't be upset when they turn you away because that's going to be on every airline's website and you need to have that. It can't be outdated because too many people abuse that. Too many people bring their animal, and I understand the animals are soothing. I totally get that. But just because they bring you peace does not mean they are an emotional support animal. There has been a rise in actually a number of people being bitten, animals misbehaving, crapping on the plane, and it's crazy. People aren't training their animals and they're just bringing on any old animal and riding for free, and it's chaos. If you have the paperwork and your animal is well behaved and everything, then there's no cost. We can't charge you for that. After we see the paperwork, you're good. And emotional support animals and service animals are the only ones that can be outside of the kennel. Next up is animals in the cabin with you. If they're not emotional or they're not service, then you are going to be paying, and it depends on the airline. It might be 75 bucks for a one-way, it might be 200 bucks for a one-way. Just depends, and it also depends if they're going international. But you're going to be paying for them to go in a little carrier, and they do have to be smaller animals. Like my little girl, I mean, she's a little overgrown right now, so she looks bigger than she really is, but she's about 12 pounds, and I feel like a little guilty that that would be squishing her too much. You just got to think about the space that's underneath the seat in front of you, because that's where they're going to go. When they're a pet, they're not allowed on your lap. They can't come out of the kennel. They can't ride on the seat next to you. For the most part, maybe some airlines allow that or in extenuating circumstances, but for the most part, they're going to sit underneath that seat. So they need to be able to stand up and move around and not be squashed and have to like lay down the whole time, because we want them to be comfortable. We want them to be safe. We want them to be happy just as much as we want you to not have to stress about that. Pets do count towards baggage allotment. So a lot of airlines, you can bring like a carry-on and a personal item. So like one to go up above, one to go down below. And when you're bringing a pet on board, you can only bring one other item. So that's something to consider as well. Pets in the hold, or pets checked as baggage. Sometimes we refer to it as cargo, but again, it's if you're on the same plane, they're not cargo, they're checked baggage. So pets that are going in cargo, again, you're going to pay for it. It might be the same cost as going in cabin. I'm not sure if that varies by airline. And I think I really wanted to go over this part, especially because I watched a video on Facebook the other day, and it really got my feathers ruffled, because someone was posting a video that I just feel like sometimes we just want to be victims and not do our research and be social justice warriors, but again, not doing your research. So someone posted a video that they were denied by an airline, I won't say who, their pit bull. And they were talking about equality and justice and how that's profiling the dog, and you know, pit bulls can be as nice as any other dogs, and we should be past that by now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will never allow your pit bull inside of our cargo hold. I won't do it. That sounds brutal and unloving, but actually the reason why is because they are considered a brachycephalic, probably pronouncing that wrong, breed. That means those little shorter nosed dogs, even if they're a mixed breed, they have more problems with their respiration, with being able to breathe properly. And the stress of air travel actually can cause them to die. Most major airlines will not accept them. There's a whole list of breeds that we have to go through and read and make sure that your dog is not at all one of those before we can allow them on the plane. Some websites, when I was doing my own research, did not classify pit bull in that. Some did. So that may vary, but that's just the truth of it. It has nothing to do with we think that your dog is aggressive or vicious. Like, it's just not the case. It's because we want them to be alive. Do you know how heartbreaking that's got to be for anyone working at the airport, and obviously for the owner to have their dog not make it out? Like, I'm trying not to cry right now, but we just won't do it. And I wish more people realized that when they were picking out an animal, and realize that that's a real truth. If you plan to fly with your animal and it's going to be too big to fit with you underneath your seat, you may need to get a dog sitter. And when you're moving, you may be bringing in a U-Haul with you instead of flying. There's just not a simple answer for that when you've got a big boxer or something like that. I believe, from what I've heard, from what I've read, that one airline, actually the airline that was at question in this video, it does allow them, but they require an extremely massive kennel size just so the animal is not stressed. So it's going to be expensive, it's going to be a little bit overboard, but you might be able to get away with it if you realize that they are at risk with their health. Requirements, once you've sorted out that your breed is not restricted, You're going to need to make sure that your kennel meets the requirements of the airline. They're very stringent. You do not want to go to the airport and have something that's not approved and then saying, sorry, can't get on board. What do you want to do? Surrender your dog? Like, what do you want to do? Go home. You have to get on a new flight now once you come back with an appropriate kennel. So make sure to read up on that. Make sure to double check and make sure that your fuzzy loved ones have had the proper feeding and watering soon before their flight, and that you look at connection times. You may have to pick them up and recheck them if you have a long connection. At all airports, there is an animal relief area so they can do their thing. You are required when they are going into the cargo hold, have their shots and everything up to date and have proof from your vet within, I think it's usually around like 10 days of the trip, just to make sure that they're healthy. And that's even more important than when they're on the plane with you, just because they're in closer proximity to other animals. And can you just imagine if one of them has kennel cough and it's going all around? And also, whether it's going in the cabin with you or into cargo, you do need to make sure that you have your documentation and everything sorted out for your destination. There are some breeds that some countries just do not allow into their country. There's going to be different health requirements, age requirements for traveling internationally as well. So if you really need to take Fluffy with you, do your research. There are some places like Hawaii that have extremely strict rules. Chances are you are not bringing Fido to Hawaii for your vacation, because they have to go through quarantine, and it's just, oh no, I would never do it. I would never do it. If I was moving there permanently, I would figure out all the hoops I have to go through. But no, I would not do it just for a visit, even if it was a long visit. Also on health, one thing that I had considered when I thought of my own dog, she has a lot of anxiety herself. And I've thought about bringing her. I haven't yet. Someday I probably will. If the stars align, we'll try it out. We'll ease into it. But obviously it's better if they're well trained and, you know, they start when they're young if you're a frequent traveler. So they're used to the drill. But mine, and I know a lot of people have anxious animals, especially when they're being separated from their owners. I've thought about some sort of drowsy medication for my dog. But it's not recommended, actually, because it's hard to really know what that kind of medication is going to do to their system at those elevations with that stress, and they might not wake up from it. So it's not recommended. I know some people do. I've traveled next to people who have their pets, and they've told me like, yeah, just give them a little something to take off the edge. So that's kind of one of those, just be aware, do it at your own risk. I would say definitely give them less than you would think that they maybe need, just to be safe. And the last thing that I can think about is embargoes. So it's generally because it is too hot. There's actually like certain temperatures, whether it's too hot or too cold. They're going to be out on the tarmac for so long, being transferred from the airport to the plane. If it's too hot or too cold, we're just going to say there are no animals flying this day in cargo. Now, if they're in cabin with you, like it's fine, but there may be days at a time where you cannot bring your animal, and so we have to put you on another plane. We just appreciate your patience with that working for the airline, because, I mean, again, it's for their health, it's for their safety. I know that's extremely inconvenient for you, but we're not going to subject them to something that's going to harm them. Also with Hawaii, there are interesting restrictions. I don't know if all airlines are this way. I know mine does have embargoes for months at a time because of headwinds. Just the way Mother Nature is, we can only allow so many because of how I've had it explained to me is kind of the weight of the plane. Really restricted on how many are allowed in cargo, so make sure to put in your reservations as soon as possible. Whether we are talking about in cargo or in cabin, some airlines have restrictions on how many are allowed. You know, we're only going to allow 1 in first class and 5 in the cabin, or some might not have restrictions at all. I can just say, you know what, everyone bring an animal. Oh gosh, that'd be fun. Fun for the flight attendants. And then there's a restriction on how many can go in the cargo space. A lot of that is just measurements. You know, if you've got 3 giant kennels or 10 tiny kennels, you know, it kind of adds up how many they restrict. So it's usually first come, first served. You can call and get a reservation ASAP. Some might only allow it first come, first serve on the day of, which to me that sounds horribly stressful, because what if people in front of you already claim that? I don't know. I don't know what they would do in that circumstance. Probably, I guess, just get you on the next available plane, and I don't know. It's also important to note that not all airplanes are equipped for all kennel sizes. Some can only accept like large, but not the extra large. And some cannot handle any animals in the cargo at all because they are not as controlled. It's nice with the majority of the planes that my airline deals with. It is at the temperature and pressure is the same in the cargo as it is for the humans. So you know if you're comfortable, your pet is comfortable. But some are just not built that way. So you do have to do a little research on what kind of planes they fly and just look in the fine print to see if you're booking a flight that your pet's actually going to be able to go on. So there are a lot of rules and restrictions, and it varies, but the number one thing is we want your animal to be happy and safe. We want everyone to be comfortable. Just from my experience and my research and knowing my little fuzz bucket here, like I said, I wouldn't subject her to that often, but some people do. I mean, if you are a frequent flyer and you want to have your critter with you, I understand. But for the most part, I just focus on having dog sitters or boarding. Moral of the story though is if you want to bring them with you, do a lot of research. Be thorough and everything will turn out okay. If you have any further comments, questions, concerns, any experiences you want to share, maybe tips about bringing animals with you if you do that frequently, let me know what your thoughts are. Both Mia and I would love to hear about it. Oh, excuse you. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you will give this a like and comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe for more travel information videos and travel vlogs and just fun random things here and there. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. And lick the ones you love. Bye. Yeah, I love you too. Oh my gosh, and my dog just farted. Seriously? Oh. Why did you do that? That's gross. I promise it was not me. You're cute. I love you. You're cute, fartopotamus. You're so cute.